G'day punters, welcome to the Sydney preview show this week. We're back at Randwick. There's the George Main Stakes, the Group 1 headlining the card, but there's also a pretty handy race in race 7 with the Group 2 shorts as well. I'll introduce two guests. Here with me, as always, is Mark Shean. Mark, I'll just query the fact that I looked at the field for the George Main. I thought, the field looks a little bit disappointing in terms of size, but I went back and had a look, and only Sacred Falls in 2014 competed in a field with 10 runners. Outside of that, it does seem to be quite a small field over the last 10 to 12 years or so. Is that typically always the way it's been?
Yeah, I think from memory years ago, you'd get a couple of small fields like 5 and 6 runners, but it'd have, Shaftesbury Avenue against about 4 or 5 others. That's about it. So, yeah, it has been like that on occasion, yeah.
And Mark Rhoden, for yourself, just having a quick look at the forecast for the weekend. Looks like there'll be a 20 to 30 kilometre northeasterly rail true. Are you anticipating any track pattern on the day?
Well, notwithstanding the chance of some rain on race morning from the last forecast I looked at, but assuming a dry track and we've got a true rail, going back over the last 4 meetings in that position, hard to lead anyway, and a moderate to strong northeasterly probably exacerbates that. So leading might not be great. Running line clearly the best spot in a true rail, but it's pretty fair. Just with that caveat that leading's not easy. It is one of the track and rail positions where being second half of the field isn't likely to be a problem.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll start with the Group 1 race 6 over the mile, the George Main Stakes. Synthetic hold, best of the available corporate prices going up there, and then we'll follow off with a speed map. Mark Shean, Avilius won this race last year, and you'd have to think just on face value that he's got probably as good a chance of winning a race this preparation in this event. How did you find the race?
Well, the small field's probably in his favour. He won't have to navigate through as much traffic as he did last start. But having said that, this looks a much stronger race than he ran in the Chelmsford. They were probably the B graders of the weight for age horses. The last 2 times he has met Very Elegant, she has absolutely brained him. The only thing I'm worried about with her is coming back to a dry track. We've got 30 odd degrees here today, so unless they doctor the track heavily, the track's going to be pretty firm. Look, I'd have to go Very Elegant's way, just the fact that she'll probably posse up on the back of Dreamforce. Not totally convinced about him at 1,600 metres of weight for age. He might get a soft lead, but with the favourite, but I don't think I'll be going too heavily into the race.
Mark Rhoden, I'll jump to yourself. What price do you have Very Elegant at this stage?
I've come up with 280. So at the current prices, she's not a bet. But having said that, I've got a nice clear of the others. I do have Avilius second. Then out to Star of the Season, Colding. It's maybe a tiny bit of value in Colding's price, but he does, at weight for age, you would think that Very Elegant would have him covered if the track's not too firm for her. Yeah, I don't have any great differences with the market. Very Elegant clearly on top for me, yeah.
Yeah, it does look like a race where we'll be waiting until very, very late to see if the market tries to take a set against anything. But
it's just that kind of horse. The early markets just take no risks with these days, and it has changed in the last couple of years. You just have to wait and see in these cases.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting to note as well that the Pearly Whites aren't sponsoring the race this year, so at least George Main gets his name in the actual headline for the event. So congrats to Racing New South Wales for bringing back a little bit of history this year. Race 7. I say it in jest because it could all change around next year. We know that. Race 7 is the shorts over 1,100 metres. Bivouac is the nominal favourite. There's plenty of horses coming out of trials here. Mark Shean, I'll start with yourself. In terms of the trials, did one of the horses take your eye more so than any of the others?
Classic Legend went to Newcastle. He looked to go pretty good there. Only had a small field, but I clocked him running 33-1 for his last 3 and a pretty slick last 400 as well. Eduardo's been back to the trials. He trialled quite well, got control of that trial and won well. Grey Worm, I've probably seen it trial a little bit better. Standout's had 2 pretty easy trials, just shaken up the last bit of his last trial. But he looks to have done it on the bit pretty much for both trials and looks to be ticking over nicely. I think probably Classic Legend, the best of them.
And is that the way you'll be going at this stage of in terms of betting, with getting best available $5?
Look, if he looks pretty close to top fitness in the yard, I am going his way. He has got a little bit of an awkward draw. I think he's got a better draw than Bivouac, though. I'm going to oppose Bivouac here. I left him out of the trial mention, actually. But from the barrier, I think Bivouac's might be in a world of pain there. A lot of speed inside. I'd like to oppose him. Classic Legend for me. I thought the fact that Dirty Works had a run going into this, there's 4 horses in this race that had a run under their belt, and I thought Dirty Work up to 1,100 metres, and he did find the fence there in the worst going late, so I thought he was the main danger. So 3 from 10 for me in the shorts.
Mark Rhoden, for yourself, what are you leaning towards in the shorts?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a Dirty Work fan. A genuine, a real improver last prep, and showed first up in the Concord that he's not going to be out of place at this level this time in. Very good run, probably fairly handed midfield in the running line, which is where you want to be. I think that Classic Legend and Bivouac do have little tasks, or in Bivouac's case, a big task from their gates. I've actually got Dirty Work on top, or joint on top with Classic Legend from Bivouac. Dirty Work certainly at the current price is the one I want to be on. Catalyst is an interesting runner. He was a dominant winner in New Zealand first up. He's trialled well. Back inside, and gee, boss, don't know, you want to take $7 in, but assuming a hot speed with the likes of Ball and Muscle in the race, he'll be finishing off well too, I think.
What do you think of standout here, boys?
Dry tracker, so that's a plus. Well, yeah, they were just sort of tick-over trials, weren't they? The other thing I'll say for him is he's clearly his best run last time in was fresh as well. Actually, that run, what was it, the Expressway or something he won first up last
time? Expressway beat Alizé.
That would put him right in it if he was right at that level.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I just thought the price just at this stage was probably just a touch short for standout. I guess it was a slightly longer price when markets first went up, but that double figure quote didn't really last particularly long, so I'll just put a line straight through that.
The other thing that concerned me about him was I know he struck some wet tracks last prep, which didn't help, but he ran in the all-aged and got beaten 30 lengths, and the stewards reported a loud respiratory noise, which isn't a good sign. I don't know if he's had an operation or anything, but that concerned me a little too with standout.
Yeah. I guess probably in terms of picking one of the top end of the market, I was inclined to agree with Mark with Classic Legend. Bivouac, I've just got a small query on his best ratings and best figures from the punting form data haven't been first up, so just given that the likely map as well, Hugh will have to make a decision pretty early as to what he's doing, and he might very well just find himself at a disadvantage. But meanwhile, Classic Legends performed quite well first up and has some really strong figures, so that's why I was happy to go at this early stage. Just quickly on Hugh, this afternoon he's back in with the stewards, I believe. Mark Shean, do you have a thought as to what you think might happen there?
Look, I think the fact that they went faster in the mares race later on in the day will save his bacon. So I don't think he's got anything to worry about. Look, we saw Anders speed away and with a big lead there in the San Domenico, something similar. So I think you get off.
Yeah.
He reported on the day that it took charge of him as well. He wasn't intending to do that. So it's silly it's got this far, really.
Very good. We'll go to race 8, which is the Kingston Town Stakes, the Group 3 of the 2,000 metres. Capacity field, there's a number of emergencies still in at this early stage. Obviously, Canane's taking up a fair chunk of market percentage, so bear that in mind if you're betting with one of the corporates who do add deductions to the emergencies if they come out. Mark Shean, there's a couple of horses here that you wanted to follow previously. One in particular is Rondinella. How do you think that horse rates coming into the Kingston Town?
I'd probably prefer to 2,400. It did go right back from a wide alley last start, has drawn a lot better on Saturday, but I'm thinking more metropolitan, sort of 2,600 metres for it. So I think it's got a chance there on Saturday, but I have been waiting for Shared Ambition, another one who probably hasn't drawn all that well, but will come into 12 with all the emergencies out. I just think he got too far back in that race the other day. He dragged back, and they weren't winning down the outside. It was certainly an advantage to be up closer to the speed. And I think back to 2,000 metres on a dry track, I'll give him another go. I think Mustajir comes in better at the weights here. The conditions of the race certainly are better for him, and he looked a bit fat the other day, but he has drawn on Allison Road, unfortunately. And Girl Tuesday, well, she bobs up every now and then, but I thought it was a great run at Rose Hill, but you'd have to take her on trust. But I will be backing Shared Ambition.
What are we doing at the price of Zabrowski here? It's priced as if it's, I guess also far this preparation, it's been priced as if it's been running in its grand final, but clearly that's not the case. We'll have something bigger to fry. Do you have an opinion on that one, Mark Shean?
Well, he was dragged right back at the start there in that weight for age race, but I'm just a little bit concerned he could be a wet tracker. I think his best runs have been in the wet, even though he hasn't had many runs on the dry as well. So I'd just prefer to see him one more time.
Mark Rhoden, I'll throw to you. Have you got any angles in Kingston Town Stakes?
I thought it was a very tough race. I would have loved Shared Ambition to have drawn, 8 or something rather than 16. We'll see how it shakes out after the emergencies come out. He's got, 2 of them are drawn inside him, but they might just be negative again. It's hard to know. That was certainly their plan A last time, just drag him right back. But yeah,
it's interesting to see he was in Melbourne from a much better alley, so they could have gone to Melbourne and ridden him a lot closer.
Yes.
But they chose to come here from a wider draw, so maybe they will ride him a bit more aggressively.
Yes, it'd be interesting to keep an eye out for a change of tactics, I suppose. If they do that, I mean, he's a great chance regardless. I mean, he might have a bit of luck and get in. He's a great chance regardless. But just at $5, that the barrier is enough to put me off. I've had to look a bit wide to look for betting angles. And it'd be specs only, small specs really. Brimham Rocks, I thought closed off well. First up, Nash on and around $18. That is acceptable. And yes, good old Girl Tuesday. I mean, you could price it shorter than the market every start of her life if you wanted to. And this is another case, but she was quite good last start. I suppose I'll be on her at near 20 to 1 for mental health, if nothing else. But it's a just the alley with Shared Ambition has sort of messed this race up for me, or my thinking on it anyway.
Yeah, I'll be playing very small, but I'll have something on Brimham Rocks because it was one of my horses to follow from its first up performance, and it does have a previous figure at the course and the distance, and just enjoyed what it did through the line there. And I'll have something very small on Life Less Ordinary as well, just from gate 5. It probably doesn't have to get too far back at all. We've seen the horse race a little bit handier previously, and again, it's another horse that does have the figure at Randwick over 2,000 metres. So just at the double figure quotes, I'll just have something small on both of those, more for just an interest than anything.
He'll get a great run, and he's not a bad second up horse either, Lifeless Ordinary. Don't know if he's won second up, but he certainly raced well second up.
Yep. All right, we'll jump to the last. It's a benchmark 78 handicap, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of the favourite, so I'll leave it to Mark Shean to pronounce for me.
I don't think I'll be much better, mate. Don't worry about that. Creatus, or whatever his name, he's undefeated, but he did get a breakneck speed there on the Kensington last start. The leading pack went mad in front, and it was put on for him. I have to say, before the race, though, he didn't look exactly tuned right up and looked a bit dead in the coat. So he certainly had improvement, but I think he'll be a long way back. I'm going to the well one more time with number 10, Ice Bath. I am a glutton for punishment. Last winter I backed Glenn Boss on, I think it was Colding in the Golden Eagle last year, so it's been a long time between drinks, so please, Glenn.
It does look like I'm sure he'll have a mountain of pressure on him as well, Bossy, because I think everyone who has backed him first up probably backed him again second up, and is now probably starting to get a bit sick of the great man on the horse. Mark Rhoden, for yourself?
Yeah, you'd love to see a jockey change on it. I've got Creaderis on top, but not at 7 to 4. I've got it closer to 11 to 4 in the old, about 370. I backed it at Kembla. I think it's second starting race in its first prep, and I've always had a bit of time for it. And yes, it was put on for it first up, but I think it's got plenty of ability. Hopefully, down the middle won't be too much of a problem. It just becomes a price issue for me. Ice Bath, I expect to be a lot closer in the run, although you never know, do you? But I expect it to be front half at least from gate 4. Good chance, but I think the market's keeping it safe enough as well. The one I would like to back at the current prices is Air to Air, who was terrific behind All-Time Legend. I think that's going to be a pretty good form reference. That race has improved virtually every start in its career so far, Air to Air. Map, not brilliant, but at around $8, I'm prepared to take the risk.
And we've got those two, Ice Bath and Air to Air, are both in the Tibby at Newcastle on Friday as well. So they dual acceptors. So.
Yeah, so they could.
Change. Ice Bath's got 21 at Newcastle though, so you would think more than likely go to Randwick.
Yep.
I'll fall into Ice Bath as well one more time. Just think that it's got some of the better form coming into the race, and it splits just a little bit better than most of these if they're given an equal head start. But I'll also have something on Petronius just up front. I'm not exactly sure how much speed will be in this race, and Tim Clark should be able to give it its best chance to cause a bit of an upset there. So at the double figure quote, I'll be having something on it as well. All right, we'll go to best bets, value bets on the cards. Mark Shean, I'll start with yourself.
I like Probabile in the Bill Ritchie, race 5. Didn't have any luck at all last start. Checkered passage in the straight, only hit with the stick with about a half a hit halfway up the running. So I think with a better run in transit, extra distance, I think she's very hard to beat. And for a little bit more value in race 3, Nudge, who I thought ran well first up. I know she was jumping sharply in distance, but as you know, I thought a trial before this started preparation was outstanding, and she'll be much better suited going up in trip, and looks to be a lot of speed in that race. So just at about each way odds, I thought she could run a race, Nudge.
Beauty. Mark Rhoden for yourself.
I'll make it at the odds. Dirty Work, my best on Saturday. I haven't actually finished it with Newcastle on tomorrow. I've had plenty on my plate, so I'll get through another couple of races this evening. But I think at around $7 or better, it's not a bad bet.
All right, very good. And I'll throw out at this stage Classique Legend for me. I just think if it was drawn a little bit kinder, it would be a fair bit shorter in the market and will possibly even start favourite. Thank you to you both. All the best for the weekend, and we'll catch up on Monday to review George Main Stakes Day.